Rattenkrieg is a solitaire game that comes with the latest issue of the Yaah magazine. I don't know if that's how it's pronounced, but that's how I say it. Sometimes I say Yaah because I can. So, Rattenkrieg is a solitaire game set in Stalingrad, World War II. You can choose to play the side of the Soviets or the Germans against, well, an enemy that is controlled by the game system. The game has the same name as several similarities with another Rattenkrieg solitaire game that came out a couple of years ago. That one was a postcard game. So this one has similarities, say hidden event markers and other things, but it is pretty much its own thing. Also, it has more stuff going on, more variety, more complexity, a lot more going on. Starting from the board, the game comes with 4 boards. Actually, they are attached at the beginning. You had to cut them out, but then you have these 4 boards that can be combined in a variety of ways. Also, the game is scenario based, so you have a variety of scenarios, and so if the scenario says that the present game takes 2 maps next to each other this way, well, then you can change the maps and you can change the orientation. So between different scenarios and different maps, from scenario to scenario, you really have a lot of variety here. Plus, you have these event markers. They simply have numbers. They'll be placed on the map based on the instructions of the scenario. When you are close enough to inspect them, you'll get to flip them face up, and then you see what they do. And what they do, again, changes from scenario to scenario. The same number may indicate an ambush attack in a scenario, may indicate that you found an item that you were looking for in another scenario. Huge flexibility, huge malleability here. The game is a chit pull game with random activations. You will place player activation chits and enemy activation chips in an opaque container, then you draw them randomly, and depending on which one you get, then you know which side will activate. Again, if you play as the Soviets, then the Germans will be the automatized enemy. If you play as the Germans, then the Soviets will be the side controlled by the AI of the game. When the enemies activate, as indicated by the drawing of the chit, you will activate and follow in this flow chart, which looks crazy intimidating, but in truth, it is pretty intuitive. Once you're familiar with it, you'll probably know immediately which case applies. But that pretty much, again, makes sense. You start from here and you see which of these situations apply, and you act accordingly. If is the group engaged in close combat, then that group will resolve close combat. What else? The group contains pinned units, they'll try to rally, and so on and so forth. Again, it's pretty much self-explanatory, and that is great. What happens when you activate? When you get to activate, then your units will receive action points. Speaking of the units, they're represented by these counters here. The numbers that you see here, bottom left, is the rate of fire. There may be small letters next to that, and they indicate possible other special effects that apply in different circumstances. You have these 2 numbers here then. They represent short range and long range. Firing within short range is easier, more chances to hit. Long range, not as good. So when you activate, your units receive a number of action points. They receive 6 action points. And again, great flexibility because you can spend them to do a variety of things with different costs. Let me show you the list. These are things that you can do, and that's how many action points they cost. Fire, for example, you can do deliberate fire or rush fire, which of course has different modifiers. If you just spend 3 action points, it's not as likely to do damage. Movement depends on how far you go, the terrain that you enter. Spotting removes hidden marker from an enemy. Rally allows you to unpin. Hide, you can gain a hidden marker when no one's looking. I know, it's like this weird superpower. It can be invisible when no one's looking. It makes sense thematically, but it just sounds funny, so I'd mention it. Oh, another thing, your units may be equipped with demo charges that have an explosive value, that is a rate of fire indicated in a red circle. They can also have grenades, and depending on which side this marker is on, you'll know if you have 1 grenade left or 2 grenades left. Maybe I drank too much Negroni, but that too just does not look right to me. So grenades will allow you to do big kabooms. So as for moving, when you move, movement depends again on how many lines you're crossing. Some areas have buildings, some areas are roads, so that is, they are only open, but there's this distinction between open spaces and buildings within areas that are delimited by these white lines. And you spend action points to cross lines and to enter areas. Now, interesting enough, some areas, once you land there, you can choose to end your movement in an open space. Bad idea, but maybe that's just how many movement points, action points you have left to move. Or inside a building if you have enough action points to get there. Other areas do not allow you to sit outside. Like in this area here, as you can see, within the white lines, there isn't enough room for your marker to sit outside. So if you want to enter that area, you must have enough action points to cross the line, enter the open area, and then enter the building so you can stay there. Also, when you move into open areas, you need to roll on one of these 2 tables. On this table, if there is an enemy that has a line of sight on you, in this table, if there is no one there, but it's Stalingrad, you may still get attacked by somebody that looks like they're not on the board. I like this, it's very thematic. It looks like everything's quiet and a sniper out of nowhere, you don't know where they are, you don't get to fire back, he's just firing at you. So this is for movement. And then, of course, we want to know about combat. There are 2 types of combat. Firing, and in order for you to spend action points to fire on an opponent, you need to have a line of sight, so there should be no building in between you and the enemy. When you fire, you need to roll dice, which you need to provide. They don't come with the game. You're going to need a die of a color that you identify as the rate of fire die, and then a number of other dice so that you can clearly distinguish from that one. Every time that you attack, you will roll the aim die and then a number of rate of fire dice equal to the rate of fire of the unit that you're using. If it's 2, this is what I roll. After you roll, you add the result of the rate of fire die to the other dice individually. So for example, now I had a 3 and an 8. These are my results here. Then you apply modifiers based on the location of the target, based on the weapon that I'm using, all sort of things. Once all is said and done, each modified result that is equal to 8 or more if you're firing a short range, or 10 or more if you're firing a long range, is a hit that you inflict on the opponent. When you inflict a hit on a fresh unit, the unit becomes pinned. When you inflict a hit on a pinned unit, the unit is killed. When you use explosive weapons, such as grenades, then each hit causes a d6 hits on the opponent instead of just 1. Close combat is going to be between units in the same location, in which case you're going to have 2 die rolls, 1 for each side, apply modifiers. The side that has the highest total will inflict 1d3 hits against the opponent. If it's a tie, each side takes a hit. Randomly, the unit that takes the hit is randomly determined. Again, these hits will pin fresh units and eliminate pinned units. This is really the general idea. You have a lot of optional rules to distinguish, say, day fighting, night fighting, multiple floor buildings, all sort of things. You can add as much complexity as you want, but this is the general idea. You continue activation after activation, activate them until, well, you win or lose based on the objectives of the scenario that you selected. Rattenkrieg, published in Yaah, because that's totally how you pronounce it. So, Rattenkrieg, well, this game works, it gets the job done. To me, it sent the previous Rattenkrieg to retire, although this is not supposed, as far as I can tell, to be the new version, the expanded version, built upon, but they have so many similarities that now I have this one that has a lot more meat, and I just don't see a lot of reasons to go back and revisit the postcard game. I don't know, if I'm traveling, maybe. But this one also travels pretty well and has advantage. If you're traveling, you also have the magazine to read. And this applies only when you watch this video starting from 2021 on, not in 2020. Don't travel too much if you can avoid it. However, in these times of pandemic, this can work. Maybe you're wargaming curious and you're home, you're looking for simple war games, there's no one that you can play them with. This could be a good option because it is simple enough that a beginner in wargaming can definitely approach it, figure it out. It's like 8 pages of basic rules, plus several pages of optional rules, which again allows you to really tweak and shape the design in any shape and form that you will like. And to me, this is one of the greatest quality of this game, really, how malleable it is, how many different things you can do with it, with different scenarios, different maps, the same scenario with the same map played from the Soviet side or from the German side. There's just a lot of variety. It's almost like a collection of games based on the same system, which is really what I'm looking for these days, because I used to love reading rules, not so much anymore. So the more game experiences, the more different game experiences I can get out of a single set of rules, the happier I am, and Rattenkrieg fits that bill. But again, replay value, as I always say, is nothing if play value is not also good. And here the play value is good because you have this sense of uncertainty. It really depicts the situation that is not an insurgency but has some of these insurgency tactics, the hit and runs, the hidden opponents, the uncertainty about where everybody is, and so on and so forth. The shot that comes out of nowhere, one of the enemies refusing a confrontation. Sometimes you really are, come on, we can figure this out, but they are nowhere to be seen, and yet they're inflicting pin results on you that if nothing else they slow you down and cause all sorts of problems. It really depicts this interesting situation, this interesting set of tactics. So you have some insurgency kind tactics, you have urban fighting, always hard to depict in wargaming, and yet it works. It feels fluid, it feels very playable. You have a lot of interesting decisions. Of course, you have to be okay with a high degree of randomness because the opponent is automatized. The AIs, I think they have been designed pretty well because in general it felt that the AI wasn't all that stupid. Maybe in time I'm becoming less intelligent and so the AIs look smarter to me. But this one felt like it didn't make too many obvious mistakes, too many crazy mistakes. So the game also feels it has been balanced and organized and structured pretty well. So in general, what you have here is almost, again, a collection of mini games set around the same set of rules, set in Stalingrad, so very fascinating theme with very strong, very immersive gameplay. Immersive in the sense that you really have a sense of a narrative, of a story that develops. And to me, that also is of value because, well, having games that have that added narrative element is universally seen as an added value. So you also have that you have an opportunity to explore an historical situation, and it also feels a little bit like a movie based on that historical situation. You have some heroic moments here and there that feel very cinematic, and that is not unwelcome in my book. So Rattenkrieg, very good game. I was very pleased with it. Definitely something that a beginner gamer could play, but also a game or a set of mini games with enough meat in it to really please a seasoned war gamer.